Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, para jemaah dirahmati Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Kita memulakan sesi ini dengan kita memanjatkan kesyukuran kita kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Mudah-mudahan Allah menjadikan sesi ini sebab pengampunan bagi segala dosa dan Allah mengabulkan segala doa dan hajat, dan mudah-mudahan Allah menjadikan kita di antara hamba-hambanya yang bertakwa. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Jadi insya-Allah kita akan masuk ini kepada soalan ini pada hari ini. Soalan hari ini menanyakan, Assalamualaikum Ustaz Anwar. Waalaikumsalam. Thank you for your clarification and may Allah bless your efforts. I've got a few questions pertaining to the first question. This questioner is asking about the answer I gave last week because he actually mentioned in the comments in the section. So answers we are doing through videos, so that is why I answer the question here. Pertaining to the issue of fiat money. So he was asking number one, does things that doesn't have intrinsic any value cannot be used as a mode of exchange? Pertaining to things that does not have any intrinsic any values, it does not necessarily we say that it cannot be used as a mode of exchange. You see, there is a difference between currency and using something as a mode of exchange. What I'm saying last week is that in Islam we cannot use something that does not have intrinsic any value in usage as a currency. So what is the meaning when you use something as a currency? Let me give you a simple example. If you go to the market and you ask a particular thing, you ask for the price. So the shopkeeper will tell you the price. So the price is based on what? Last time of course we have dinar and dirham, we have other commodities as currencies. Now our currency or the price of things is based on the Singapore dollar, for example, on the American dollar, and so on and so forth. So this is a currency. A currency is the money that we use to buy and sell. So this is what we are saying, that it cannot be something that has no intrinsic any value, based on the Islamic rulings and Islamic perspectives. And I do not think there is any differences amongst the ulama pertaining to this. So this is what we mentioned. But the fact that situation is right now in the world today. The monetary system is not controlled by Muslims. The monetary system, the whole universe, the whole globe, the whole the countries around around the world today, they adopt a particular monetary system which is not within the teachings of Islam. So this is the thing that we have to understand. So part of understanding the ruling, we have to understand the situation, the system, and then we look at our Islamic sources. Then we are able to ascertain whether this is something that is Islamic or something that is condoned by the Islamic laws, or it is something that is not, or is something that is against. So as far as Islam is concerned, that currency must be based on something that is intrinsic in its value, and no doubt the best is gold and silver. Pertaining to the mode of exchange, inshallah I will explain later, because you also asked in the third question. Now you also asked in the third question pertaining to backing of commodities. So it is related to the first one. So basically what I'm saying is that something that is used as a mode of exchange, it doesn't mean that it must always be of intrinsic value. I will give examples later. Number two, if the fiat money is permissible due to darurah, does it still have to adhere to the conditions of gold and silver in exchange? Yes, it still has to adhere to the conditions of gold and silver in exchange, and this is very, very important for us to understand. Very, very important. We cannot afford to make a mistake here. So you see, there are some people out there, they go to an extreme by saying that since fiat money is haram and it is permissible due to darurah, so that means there is no such thing as riba, or we cannot do qiyas or analogy to compare it with gold and silver, and the conditions of gold and silver that is mentioned by the fuqaha. For example, in the chapter of riba, when it comes to riba al-fadl, riba al-nasi'a, riba al-yad, they are saying that all this does not apply to money today, because it is fiat money, and fiat money does not have intrinsic value. That is not correct. We go back to the fatwas of our ulama from the east and the west. All of them, except for a few, all of them mention that the function of money today is the same as the function of gold and silver. Because if you go back into the illah of gold and silver, where the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith mentioned ad-dhahabu bil-dhahabi wal-fiddatu bil-fiddati, and our ulama when they speak about the illah of dhahab and fidda, they say it is mutlaqus samaniya, that the illah of dhahab and fidda, it is based on mutlaqus samaniya. Why is dhahab and fidda ribawi, that carries riba if we do an exchange that is not equal, for example? The reason is they use as prices of things. This is what I mentioned earlier, currency. This is used as prices of things. Now, the money that we have today takes the function of gold and silver as mutlaqus samaniya, as mutlaqus samaniya. So that is why we say that the ruling of the paper money today, the fiat money today, carries the ruling of gold and silver. Meaning, if I have 10 Singapore dollars, I cannot exchange with 15 Singapore dollars. That is riba. That is riba. This is called riba al-fadl. So our ulama, they do ijtihad, for example, they say that when it comes to Malaysian ringgit, this is a different type. Just like gold is different from silver. So when we do exchange Singapore dollars and Malaysian ringgit, 1 Singapore dollar is equivalent to 2 Malaysian ringgit. That is permissible. That is permissible, even though they are not the same in terms of the numbers. One is 1, the other one is 3. But because they are considered to be different types within the class of currency, it is not considered to be the same type. Just like if we exchange gold and silver, both are mutlaqus samaniya, but you can exchange gold and silver with differences in the weights. But you cannot change gold and silver by the same difference in weight. You cannot change, for example, 100 grams of gold with 110 grams of gold, and that is clearly riba. So the illah in the fiat money that we are using is mutlaqus samaniya. So that is why we cannot buy and sell by this notion of riba. So this is what we have been speaking about when dealing with interest and dealing with riba. So riba riba and is riba. There are a few scholars who mention that it cannot be done qiyas to zahab and fidda, and this is an extremely weak opinion. This is an extremely weak opinion, because the function of fiat money today is the same as gold and gold and silver. So this is the fatwas by our ulama, and this is something that is clear from the past till present, from the creation of this fiat money till today. The fatwa remains the same when comes to the conditions of riba. Number 3, how does backing of commodities have influence on the intrinsic value? This is the thing that I mentioned earlier, that I'm going to speak about the mode of exchange. You see, let me give you an example. Last time, during the time of the tabi'in, what they used to do is that they used to write on paper that give fulan bin fulan a bag of rice. So that paper represents a bag of rice. So instead of bringing any bag of rice everywhere from one place to another, what they used to do is then they use this piece of paper to represent a commodity. So for example, I write a paper to someone, and I tell them that someone to give that person a bag of rice. So that person gave the bag of rice. Then I have to give bag of rice to that person. So the paper represents the commodity. But the paper does not have value in it. It is not intrinsic. But it can be used as the mode of exchange. So this is the thing that this is totally different. So this particular paper is backed by a commodity. The particular paper is backed by commodity. So before the Bretton Woods agreement in 1971, what you call it, the American and the government, for example, they say that every US dollar is backed by certain grams of, by certain what you call it, certain weight of the gold. So that was last time. So that paper is just a representation of the gold that is kept. But of course after the Bretton Woods agreement, then comes this issue of the fiat money. A lot of people do not agree. The scholars of Islam do not agree. But things happen. The Muslims have no hand in changing anything, due to the weakness of the Muslims, until today we are using this what you call it, currency that we have. So when it comes to the conditions of buying and selling everything is the same. When it comes into the illah of gold and silver, it is still mutlaq and samaniyah, based on qiyas. So I hope I have answered all the questions inshallah ta'ala. May Allah bless us with tawfiq. The next question, Assalamualaikum Ustaz. Waalaikum Assalam. Can zakat harta given for sacrifice of animal for Idul Adha? The answer is no. The answer is no. Why? Because the thing about zakah, when we are giving out any zakah, there are certain categories that we have to give our zakah to. So for example, you have to give to the miskin zakat, and you have to give to the fakir, to the miskin. So when it comes into udhiyah, it does not fall into the categories of zakah. The act of sacrificing an animal in Idul Adha does not fall into the category of zakah. And this act of udhiyah, sacrificing of an animal, is a specific act in Idul Adha. So zakah is an ibadah, udhiyah is an ibadah. Zakah has the recipients, the specific recipients. When it comes into udhiyah, it is another form of ibadah. So we cannot mix zakah with any udhiyah. So if a person use the zakat money as udhiyah, it is not valid. It is not valid. It still has to give the zakah for the recipients that can accept any zakah. Soalan menanyakan, adakah dibolehkan kita mengeluarkan kita menggunakan duit zakat ini untuk korban Idul Adha? Jawapannya tidak dibolehkan, sebab zakat ini dia ada asnaf tertentu yang boleh kita memberikan zakat kepadanya. Maka kita tidak boleh menggunakan duit zakat untuk korban. Tidak dibolehkan kita menggunakan duit zakat untuk korban. Kalau kita melakukannya, maka tidak sah. Sebab melakukan korban bukan daripada asnaf. Bukan daripada asnaf. Sekarang kita pergi kepada soalan ini yang ketiga, menanyakan, Assalamualaikum, Waalaikumsalam. Saya ada 2 anak perempuan berumur 21 tahun. Saya ternampak foto daripada Telegram application bahawasanya salah satu anak saya sedang mencium bibir dengan wanita yang lain. Saya tidak mengetahui bagaimana hendak mendedahkan ataupun menasihatinya. Jadi soalan ini dia menanyakan, dia melihat anak perempuannya meletakkan gambar dia sedang melakukan ciuman dengan wanita yang lain. Maka ibu ini ataupun bapa sedang ini menanyakan bagaimana nak menasihati anak perempuan tersebut atas ini perbuatan ini. Jadi pertama sekali apa yang kita perlu buat adalah kita perlu menerangkan kepadanya tentang hukumnya. Yakni hukum ini berkenaan ini dengan hubungan di antara wanita dengan wanita. Maka di dalam Islam diharamkan kalau sekiranya seorang lelaki ada hubungan intim ataupun seksual ini dengan lelaki yang lain. Begitu juga dengan wanita yang lain. Dan ini kita ada nas daripada Al-Quranul Karim. Kita ada kisah Nabi Lut alaihi salam apabila dia menasihatkan kepada kaumnya yang cenderung ini lelaki ini untuk melakukan hubungan seksual ini dengan lelaki yang lain. Maka hubungan ini seksual sama ada dalam bentuk ciuman ataupun dalam bentuk-bentuk ini yang lain di antara sama ini jantina, maka diharamkan. Begitu juga ini dengan jantina yang lain kalau sekiranya dia tidak berdasarkan dengan pernikahan. Maka perbuatan-perbuatan seperti ini semua adalah perbuatan yang boleh membawa kepada penzinaan, perbuatan-perbuatan ini yang keji, yang dilarang ini oleh agama. Allah Subhanahu wa taala mengatakan sebagai misal dalam Al-Quran, wala taqrabuz zina, janganlah kamu ini mendekatkan diri kamu ini kepada penzinaan. Maka begitu juga kita ada hadis-hadis Nabi SAW. Jadi apa yang perlu kita menerangkan kepadanya adalah kita perlu menerangkan ini kepadanya tentang ini hukum ahkam. Bahawasanya perbuatan ini adalah perbuatan yang boleh yang diharamkan, yang boleh mendatangkan laknat daripada Allah Subhanahu wa taala ataupun ini musibah ini yang besar. Dan kita menggalakkannya yakni untuk dia bertaubat kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala, untuk dia memahami tentang hukum ahkamnya dan supaya dia mengelakkan dirinya, dan kita menasihati dengan baik, kita ingatkan dia yakni tentang kepentingan untuk kita kembali kepada Allah, kepentingan yakni kembali yakni kepada melakukan salat, kepada mengingati Allah Subhanahu wa taala dan kejayaan manusia dalam agama, kepentingan yakni sebagai seorang muslim untuk mentaati kepada perintah Allah. Jadi kita nak kena melakukan dakwah. Dalam masa yang sama kita kena menerangkan bahawasanya perbuatan yang dilakukan olehnya adalah perbuatan yang salah. Mungkin ada orang yang dia menyangkakan ini ia tidak salah. Mungkin ada orang menyangkakan ia tidak salah. Maka kita perlu ini menerangkan kepadanya akan perbuatan yang ini tersebut. Dan kita mendoakan baginya sebagai seorang ibu ataupun seorang ayah. Kita berdoa kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala agar Allah memberikan kepada anak-anak hidayah dan taufik untuk meninggalkan perkara yang diharamkan. Assalamualaikum Ustaz. Waalaikumsalam. Saya ingin bertanya, adakah dikirakan batal wudhu sekiranya saya mencuci najis budak yang umur 3 tahun? Berkenaan dengan sama ada batal wudhu ke tidak kalau kita cebok budak kecil kita kena lihat sama ada kita memegang kemaluannya ataupun tidak. Sebab daripada perkara yang membatalkan wudhu adalah kalau kita memegang kemaluan dengan telapak tangan tanpa ada penghalang, melainkan kalau kita menggunakan glove ini misalan. Tapi kalau sekiranya kita tidak menggunakan glove dan telapak tangan kita memegang kemaluannya, sama ada duburnya ataupun zakarnya ataupun faraj bagi budak tersebut, walaupun bayi 1 tahun, dia tidak ada perbezaan, maka batal wuduk kita. Sebab daripada perkara yang membatalkan wuduk adalah memegang alat kelamin sesiapa pun, termasuk diri kita sendiri, dengan telapak tangan. Jadi saya harap kita dapat memahami perkara ini insya-Allah taala. Question ini is asking about does the ablution becomes invalidated if we were to wash the private parts of a 3-year-old. Yes, the ablution will be invalidated if we use our hands, bare hands, and we touch the private parts of that infant. Our ablution will be invalidated unless if a person use a glove, then the wudu is still valid. Wallahu a'lam bis-shawab. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Allahumma shalli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.